Did you get my text?
I don't know. I
All
will
right.
check
Oh,
my
Well, you are
phone.
live on YouTube right now, Susan. So,
well, I'm gonna speak if Sora would like to join me. I'm just not prepared to
I will
speak
check.
on
well,
my
you're
own.
live on
Would you
YouTube.
would you like to join me, Sora?
So,
I mean, you always do such a good job. You're such a good, clear channel. Words just spill from your mouth, and you stop every once in a while and you
Well,
talk to
I
Myrna
feel
and
the
you
same
ask if
way
she
about
agrees
you.
or so. I mean, I could jump in. I'm just checking my text to see if I got anything. I have been immersed. I have a message. Let's see. Yeah, this is Susan May. Yeah, I got it. But I haven't looked at my phone, so that's why I didn't respond. So yeah, you had the right number.
Would you like to
Given.
stay with me for an hour, Sora?
Um, sure. Then I had something. Then I'll shorten my 2:30. Is that okay, Lynn? Like just do like a half hour. I wanted to do something about an introduction to A Course in Miracles, but sure. I mean, it's your hour, so I'll chime in, or you ask me for comments or anything. What do they call it in TV? Like I'll be second banana. Do you remember that term?
Sounds perfect to me. Thank you for staying with me, Sora. I
Sure.
appreciate that. So, on that note, I will begin. And my name is Susan Michel. I am the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we are all here to study, to learn, to embody the knowledge
Mhm.
of. And my friend and Course in Miracles soul sister, Sora, has agreed to stay with me. And I'm so excited because she's such an amazing Course in Miracles teacher. And I learned so much from you, Sora. Your
Wow.
wisdom just, just really touches my heart when I listen to you
Thank you,
speak.
Susan. And I feel the same in listening to you. I really do. You embody the teachings and they come from the heart and you can't fake that. So my compliment. Anyway, so it's a pleasure being with you now.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you, Sora. I'm excited. Well, I gave a prayer today before I came on here and gather, and I just gave it to the good God. And I love being here because I love A Course in Miracles, and I always
Mm.
listen to Course in Miracles prior to my talks. And although I have been studying A Course in Miracles for almost as long as you, Sora, I think for me, I'm at about 35 years. Um, but I mean, there's a big difference between intellectually knowing the truth and embodying the truth. And my time here in Gather helps me to embody the truth.
Yeah.
So I will start with the introduction of my book, which is Surrender to Joy. What I write is I write, my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with three simple words: surrender to joy. There is
Mm.
nothing to find. All we need to
Nice.
do is surrender. So when I am filled with joy, when I am extending God's love to my brother, I am in sync with the truth of God. I am in sync with the truth of who I am. What is this world? This world is a classroom. We are in this world to learn. We are in this world to correct our unbelief. That's what A Course in Miracles says. I mean, there is no world. What is the world? The world is an external projection of an internal condition. So we are always creating our own reality. When we channel God's love to our brother, we are extending the truth of who we are. and when we block that love, well, then really what we do is we set up a lesson for ourselves to learn. As Myrna likes to say so often, everything in life is a lesson or a blessing. So the blessings are the truth of who we are. The lessons are everything else. When there is some unhealed part of ourself, what we end up doing is we end up projecting that fear onto the world, and God doesn't want to punish us for that. But God wants us to learn that our fearful projections have no power over us. He wants us to remain transparent. He wants us to bring our pain points to the surface so they can be healed. Any thoughts on that, Sora?
Um, well, yeah, one of the things you said earlier, about what the course is, and I was reading from this, it's a paper by Roger Walsh, and he talked about the perennial wisdom of A Course in Miracles. It's an old article. I've had it for years, but I think you mentioned this, or you were approaching this idea and I'm just going to read from this, that the course suggests that we're dreaming, and that this world is a dream of our own creation, like our dreams. And just a couple of lines: dreams show you that you have the power to make a world as you would have it be, and while you see it, you do not doubt that it is real. Yet there is a world clearly within your mind that seems to be outside. You seem to waken and the dream is gone. And what you seem to waken to is but another form of the same world. In other words, that's a core teaching of the course, that we're dreaming, and that at some point we're going to wake up and say, that was an interesting dream, and probably not remember much of it. But anyway, at that moment, it would seem relevant to read this. But if you have any thoughts about that, to continue to it, that the course is about awakening from the dream and take responsibility for the life we want to create.
Yeah, I agree with you 110% on that. This is a dream that we are experiencing. It's all we're learning to awaken from the dream, and we can do that anytime we choose. I mean, I love the Wizard of Oz analogy. It's all about Dorothy dreaming, right? And at the end of the movie, she wakes up and realizes she was home in Oz the whole time. She had this dream about walking, through Oz and trying to escape from the Wicked Witch of the West, and all that fear she was experiencing. All she had to do is she had to click her heels 3 times in order to escape the nightmare and return to her home in Kansas. I don't think I said that right initially, but she was
No,
she was
that was
home.
brilliant, right?
Okay, so she was home in Kansas this whole time, sleeping with her beloved family around her, and her uncles and her Auntie Em. Everyone was around her, and she was fast asleep. And then when she chose to awaken from the nightmare, she remembered that she had nothing to fear. All this fear that she created for herself was illusory. And that's just such a brilliant analogy as to our life. We are
Yep.
experiencing this self-created fear in this worldly classroom. But at any time, A Course in Miracles is teaching us we can still our mind and know that we are one with Source, that we are one with God, and God needs us as much as we need Him. So he wants us to awaken from the dream. He wants us to recognize our complete dependence upon him. Except as ye can become as little children and recognize your complete
Right.
dependence upon God, then you can know your true power. So, unless we can become as little children and recognize our complete dependence on God the Father, only then can we know our true power. The only thing that will make us happy is when we think as God thinks, because we are a part of him. Thoughts, Sora?
Many, many. Um, so the thing I wrote down, do you remember Wayne Dyer?
Yes.
So he used to do something that I used to do in workshops, but mind is universal. Anyway, remember the song "Row, row, row your boat"?
I
Row,
love
row,
that
row, boat
song.
gently down the stream, merrily, merrily, man. And he used it as a lesson to teach about, yeah, life is but a dream. And that's what the course teaches, and I used to go through it, row, row, row. Whose boat are you rowing? Your boat. Are you rowing anybody else's boat? And too many people like to row other people's boats and they're not rowing their own boat. Um, and how are you rowing up merrily? Like, be happy, be joyous. Today's workbook lesson, if you started in January, on January 1st, today's lesson is there's nothing to fear. And that's what you were saying, what the only thing that makes us afraid is that we believe we're separate from source, and that's what you're saying. And when we realize, no, we're not separate from source, so yeah, there's nothing to fear. And that the ego mind, the separated mind, thrives on fear.
Very true. Okay, here in lesson 48, the presence of fear is a sure
I
sign
love
that
that a
you
lot.
are trusting in your own strength. Ah, I know that is amazing. I was talking to my close friend last night about this very thing. She was experiencing a lot of stress in her life, as I do, as well. And I pointed out the fact that when we go into stress or angst of any kind, basically we are blocking God. We are trusting in our own strength. We are trusting in the petty uh, ego influences instead of putting our trust in the good God. Because when I am putting my trust in God, there is nothing to fear. It's basically like peace comes into my heart when I am in my right mind. So it's really a brilliant lesson. The awareness that there is nothing to fear shows that somewhere in your mind, though not necessarily in a place you recognize as yet, you have remembered God and let his strength take the place of your weakness. The instant you are willing to do this, there is indeed nothing to fear. That is just so brilliant, because of ourself, there is nothing that we can do. But once we release our ego and we recognize our complete dependence upon God, and we allow his energy to work through us, there is nothing that we cannot do. All of us have so much strength and an unlimited amount of potential, but that potential is not of us alone. That potential is when we surrender to a power greater than ourselves, but a power that we are a part of. I love to use the analogy: God is the sun, and we are all rays coming from
Yeah,
that sun.
right.
God is the ocean, and we are all waves coming from that ocean, but we are all part of the ocean. Our joy does not come from exclusion, it comes from inclusion. And the journey will not be complete until every single part of the sonship makes his way home to heaven. As I say it now, I'm really feeling the power of that statement, because our power really, well, it comes from God. How do we connect to that power? Forgiveness, as we speak about every week here in Gather, forgiveness is essential, because once we forgive our brother, basically we can feel God's love to us. I always say we don't need God's forgiveness. God doesn't really have to forgive us because he has never condemned us. But we do need to forgive our brothers because we have judged, we have condemned. So it's about releasing the condemnation. It's about releasing the judgment, that allows us to connect to the truth of who we are. Right, Sora?
Yeah, I was trying to explain that concept to someone who's kind of a student of spirituality, but not really a Course in Miracles. And it was the idea that if we can, that everyone's our mirror, maybe not in the exact form, but in a similar form. What we judge other people for, something that we judge ourselves for. So if I can forgive someone who I think has some horrendous, what a character flaw, um, then I'm also allowing myself to release that same character flaw. In other words, one of a Course in Miracles teacher used to tell me, be gentle on yourself. The more we learn to see others as separated beings who don't remember who they really are, the same way I think I'm a separated being who doesn't know who I am, then we become kinder and gentler because we understand that, what's the line? Something like everybody we meet is carrying a great burden. So we become kinder and gentler as we go through our own process, and that's where the healing is. So it's our brothers that reflect, what it is we need to heal in us. And our form, I always say our form might be cuter. It might not be the exact form, but it's the process of letting go of what we consider so bad, and we become kinder, gentler people.
Very true, very wise. I mean, what we focus upon in our brother exacerbates itself in our own psyche.
Right?
So when we focus on the innocence in our brother, we feel the innocence in ourself. When we focus on the guilt in our brother, we feel the guilt in ourself. So why do we love our brother? It feels good. I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
loving our brother is both selfless and selfish at the same time. It's the only thing that will bring peace to our minds. I mean, A Course in Miracles talks about charity, and I believe that, even when we can't feel that love within ourselves, if we start focusing on that love outside of ourselves, if we start focusing on that love within our brother, we start feeling it within ourselves. So it brings truth to our own mind. That's why I say sometimes when I'm in a funky place, I just go out of my way to give, because when I give,
Mhm.
it feels good and it reminds me of who I am. If someone is asking me for money, and I'm in a funky place and I give them money, it's not the money, because money in itself is meaningless, but it's the act of giving and extending love to my brother. And when I do give money, I say, God bless you. And as I bless him, I remember how much God blesses me by giving to our brother, we remember the truth of who we are. A Course in Miracles tells us that to give and to receive are the same. Like in the material world, when I give something, I have less. When I give away $100, I have $100 less. When I give away my necklace, I don't have the necklace anymore, right? That's the truth in the material world. But in truth, the only thing that matters is the love. So when I give the love away, I basically have more within myself. I don't lose, I win. By extending God's love to my brother, I remember how much love I have within myself to give. If I didn't have my brother to extend God's love to, I wouldn't know that that love was within me. That's why A Course in Miracles clearly states that we need each other to get home to heaven. I mean, I think at different times, sometimes one person might temporarily have more and another person might temporarily have less, so at that time, the son, the person who temporarily has more, the person that is in their right mind, extends God's love to his brother. So then maybe that will enable the person who temporarily has less to remember how much he has. Like at different points in time, I think we're close. Different people are closer to God, but the people that are closer to God can just remind those people that are temporarily disconnected how much they are loved, and by reminding my brother how much love is available to him, then I grow closer to God also. I mean, anything that comes from love is a miracle. Some miracles are not greater than others. Anything that comes from love is a miracle, and A Course in Miracles, it tells us that the only thing that's essential in becoming a miracle worker is to step out of the way. I need the Susan's ego to step out of the way so God can channel himself through me. And I know that miracles are the greatest joy that exists in this world, because I remember numerous times where God's love has extended itself through me, and it's just the greatest feeling that exists. And that's what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. A Course in Miracles cannot teach us the meaning of love, because love is who and what we are. A Course in Miracles can help us to identify the blocks to love that we have created so we can choose to release them. Thoughts, Sora?
Well, you are reading my mind because I looked through some of my, course paperwork. I have files of, workshops I've done and, quotes and all that stuff. So, one of the things I was actually going to read that you just picked up on is Principles of Miracles number 7, that says, miracles are healing because they supply a lack. They are performed by those who temporarily have more for those who temporarily have less. And I was looking at that as you were, like right before you said that. So you're reading my mind, Susan. So yeah, the other thing, that Principles of Miracles, 1, there are no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They were all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. So just to, reiterate and emphasize, that what the miracle is, it's an extension of love. And just to clarify, but we spoke about this once before. When the Course talks about God, it's not talking about, the old man in the sky with the big white beard, who punishes you. And like I always laugh at Christmas, you better watch out, you better not shout, something like, Santa Claus is coming. Well, Santa Claus is making me afraid, or I grew up, I disdain, like I didn't like God because, he smites you on the Sabbath if you pick up a match. So who needs that person? Uh, but the Course reminds us that what God is but love, and therefore so am I. That love, universal love, unconditional love, is already within us. And the way we know that is by sharing it and expressing it. You can't. Oh, and the other image you had that I like about giving, you can't give from an empty cup. And the image I had as you were speaking was that, the love comes through us, and it just keeps refilling and refilling and refilling. The cup never is empty, and the more you give. And giving can be just telling somebody I love you. I mean, giving doesn't necessarily have to be anything material, but the more you allow that love to come through you, the more love you have.
That analogy that you gave, I thought the same thing when I was a child, and I talk about that a lot. When I grew up in the Lutheran church, I pictured God as like a Santa Claus type guy. He was sitting on this throne in the clouds with a beard and a big belly. Santa Claus wore a red outfit, but the God that I envisioned had a white robe. But God and Santa Claus, could have been twin brothers. And if I was good, then he gave me gifts and he praised me. But if I was bad, he put hole in my stocking and he punished me. This is how I envisioned God. So I was very careful, to try to be a good girl so God would continue to love me. And then I learned through A Course in Miracles that God is incapable of condemnation in any way. The only way for me to feel sad is when I go into guilt and I condemn myself, because God is incapable of judgment or condemnation. And the passion and the love that I feel for God is just so deep. When I read that paragraph, each time I come in to gather, I start with my passion is God. I mean, God is my passion. So A Course in Miracles is teaching me, I have nothing to fear except my own miscreations, my own feelings of guilt, my own.
Mhm.
And I'm a very self-critical person. I really am. I'm
Mhm.
a very self-critical person. And I know this is all coming from my ego. And I know how important it is to release this guilt that I carry within my unconscious mind. And A Course in Miracles teaches me to do that. And I love what you said too about the cup that runneth over,
Mm.
because when, and again, it's when we give, we remember how much we have within us to share with our brother. I mean, God's love is all encompassing. God's love never ceases. God is a God of abundance, you know. So when we remember that we have everything that we could possibly desire within ourselves, we go around and we share with our brother. And this is the only thing that brings us true joy. The only thing that brings us true joy is sharing God's love with our brother. The ego is coming from lack. The ego believes that he only has limited resources. The ego believes that he is not enough and he needs something outside of himself to establish his value. So it's a part of me, that I realize is there, the part of me that doesn't feel like she is enough. I think I know we all have these fear-based thoughts in our unconscious mind that we need to release. Because I believe, if we were enlightened, we wouldn't have been born, because this is a worldly classroom. So we're learning to release our incorrect pain points, but the truth, like you said, Sora, we all have so much to give. And basically, when we start sharing this love with our brother benefits, and because we enable him to remember the truth of who he is, and we benefit because we remember how much love we have within ourselves to give. So it's Course in Miracles is a book in mind training, mental
Good
discipline.
point.
There is discipline involved in loving, right, Myrna? I mean, what am I
No,
saying? I'm
I'm
calling
sorry.
you
It's all
Myrna,
right.
Sora, right?
Myrna, Sora, hey, I had a teacher once.
Myrna's
We're
here
all
in
one.
spirit.
I
Myrna's a
don't see differences. So you don't see differences. We're all one.
Myrna's here in spirit, right, Sora?
I guess, yes, I'm sure she is, and I hope she's having a good time where she is. It's nice to have an opportunity to share with you.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy you're here. And I guess what I was saying was, when we share God's love with our brother, we remember how much love we have to give, and that brings joy to our mind.
Exactly. Keep going.
And here you went to miracle number 8, which really writes about exactly what we were sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Miracles are healing because they supply a lack. That's exactly actually what I was saying. They are
Mm-hmm.
performed by those who temporarily have more. That's exactly what I said. For
I
those who
know. That's what I
temporarily
was
have
quoting
less.
you. Exactly. That's
Yeah,
why I
because
said you read my mind because I was focusing
yeah.
on that.
Yeah, because at different points in this lifetime, some of us are closer to God at certain times, and when we are closer to source energy, we can share that love with our brother, because our learning will not be complete until everyone makes his way back to home in heaven. And miracles are a kind, okay, the miracle number 9. Miracles are a kind of exchange. Like all expressions of love, which are always miraculous in the true sense, the exchange reverses the physical laws. They bring more love both to the giver and the receiver. And that's also what I was saying. So
Mm-hmm.
when I extend God's love, my brother remembers how much he or she is loved, and I remember how much I am loved, and then we can both connect more closely with our creator. Um, I mean, A Course in Miracles is very clear that God needs us as much as we need him, because he created us in his image. And as we extend God's love to our brother, this is how we remember how much love we have to give. You know what I reminded myself of earlier in our talk, this one line. So we were talking about trust. So when we have trust in God, this is when we're in our right mind. This is when our heart is at peace. Trust to rely upon spirit totally is a big Course in Miracles acronym. So in the manual for teachers, what are the characteristics of God's teachers? I mean, Course in Miracles clearly tells us that we're all teachers and students, and the first characteristic is trust. And I just love, love, love the second paragraph. I mean, the first paragraph is good too, but the second
It's all
paragraph,
good, right? It's all
all
good.
good. But the second paragraph really speaks to me. So in the second paragraph, Jesus writes, when this power has once been experienced, it is impossible to trust one's own petty strength again, which is really exactly what we were just talking about, with the lesson of the day. This line, love, love, love. Who would attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow when the mighty power of an eagle has been given him? Who would place his faith in the shabby offerings of the ego when the gifts of God are laid before him? What is it that induces them to make the shift? So why would I want to trust in the petty strength of my ego when the mighty power of God has been given to me? The world is run on the egoic thought system, but the truth of who we are is so much more than anything we can find in the world.
Wow, that was so powerful as you said that. Just like, wow, that I felt that in my heart. Really powerful. Seriously, it like it was that like the power of God was coming through you the way you said that. So no comment, no further comment. But yeah,
Thank
that
you,
was
Sora.
very
But
cool, Susan. Very cool.
I do see that Sharon has
Yes, I'm just listening to you girls. I'm sick today, but I'm going to say you both are so powerful that I'm just loving every minute of it, and I have to thank you. So
Thank
that's
you.
all.
yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
We're just talking.
Yeah,
But
but it's very,
there's so
it's where
much
it hits
power
you.
behind
Right.
it. But the power comes, I think the power comes from lived experience.
Yeah, the
When
love
you've
is
done this
here.
for a while, you
Um,
start to embody it.
That's what's happened for all of us, I think, because it's 20 years for me. But I just have to say, both of you are excellent teachers. I really love listening. I'm going to put my
That's
screen
so
down because
sweet.
I have an electric blanket on because I'm sick with this virus. So it'll go away.
Thank you, Sharon. That's very sweet. Thank you.
Very
Oh,
sweet. Thank you
And
so much,
Steve,
Sharon.
welcome. Are you driving, Steve? I don't want to take up Susan's time. We could talk later. That's okay. Go ahead, Susan. I will be quiet and listen.
No, I love when you share because I get so much out of what you share, Sora. You really are a
Thank you,
clear
dear.
and wise teacher. So we're basically focusing on the peace, love, joy, and beauty that is available to all of us at each and every moment. I mean, again, A Course in Miracles cannot teach us the meaning of love because love is the truth of who we are. Um, what it can help us to do is to identify the blocks. I mean, Course in Miracles wants us to bring our pain points to the surface so that the Holy Spirit can help us to heal. Um, and I think these pain points originate from our childhood. I think just about everybody has a dysfunctional childhood, everybody that I know. But I personally feel like as we allow these hidden pain points to surface, as we sit with them, and refrain from projecting them onto our brother, as we pray, and give them to the Holy Spirit, He can help us release them. He can help us transform the pain into peace. Um, so that's definitely a big part of my learning in this lifetime, is to sit with my pain when it arises and allow my heart to heal. Um,
Mm, wow. And we have to go through our lives. You can't the short, it's like there are no shortcuts. Well, in a way, the shortcut is love, open your heart and love, and um allow yourself to, instead of focus on the separation and retaining a self-identity, we open up to looking at, okay, my way hasn't worked all these years. What's your way? And, talking to God, the Holy Spirit. And, I'm a psychology person. I've studied psychology years and years. So I think of the course very cognitively, that it's about our thought system. And you were talking about, when we come in, so how that our lives, we have built up an identity, we've built up an ego over our lifetime. So I was just looking for the quote. We already come in, we're born with an ego. We're born with the idea of separated self, and that's what the ego is. And this whole world is a thought system. And I talk about that, in other context. So, and it's a thought system based on the idea of separation, and that's what the ego is. And if you're separate, and there's only this little, little I and big I. If there's only a little I, yeah, you got to be afraid. So the course is this gradual, for me it was gradual, undoing. And there's a word in the course on atonement, which means undoing. So there's a gradual undoing of who you think you are, which is the little I. And the more you practice and love and trust, you mentioned trust, the more we become the big I. The I that remembers it's connected. It's connected to source. That's one of the words you were using. I'll stop.
I am very psychologically drawn as well.
Mm,
There is a lot of psychology in A Course in Miracles. It is no coincidence that it was written after the
yes,
teachings
by a
of Sigmund.
psychologist.
Yep, and right. Yep, Helen Schuckman and Bill Thetford. Were in the psychology department at Columbia University. And then A Course in Miracles was written after the teachings of Sigmund Freud. So I think there just is a lot of psychology that goes into Course in Miracles. I think sometimes what's wrong uh, with how psychology is practiced today, in what I see amongst friends and acquaintances, is you need to uncover the pain point that's important, I believe, so we can let go of certain character defects. Because if we don't identify the pain point, we keep living out that pain point. We need to recognize the pain point in order to release the pain point. But what is flawed, incorrect about how certain forms of psychology are practiced today is it continues to focus upon the pain. They continue to focus on the victimizer of the pain, the victim of the pain, and this whole cycle results in hanging on to guilt, and it does not heal anything. Identifying the pain is a necessary first step, but it doesn't get us out of the pain cycle. What is essential is forgiveness, because without forgiveness, identifying the pain really does no good at all. You know, I mean, to use myself as an example, I think it was important for my healing to identify the fact that my fear of abandonment originated with my father, because he was very controlling. He would tell me exactly what to do. And when I didn't do exactly what he said, he would emotionally abandon me. This is how I grew up. He didn't really do this to punish me. He did this because he had a lot of unhealed pain points that he hadn't worked through. So he projected those pain points onto me. So part of my healing journey was to identify this pattern, to identify this fear of abandonment that needed to be healed. But what is equally as important is to forgive my father. It's equally important to forgive my father, to forgive myself, to release the guilt, to release any feelings of victimization that I might be holding on to, because without forgiveness, nothing really matters. Without forgiveness, we can't feel the truth of who we are. Without forgiveness, we can't feel source energy. So it's really important to get to the point where I see the beauty in my father, and I see the innocence in my father. My father is no longer here in body form. He passed away about 4 years ago. But it's very important for me to honor the innocence and the beauty within my father. And I know that he did the best he could when he was here in this worldly classroom. And by the time he passed away, he was so innocent and so vulnerable at the end of his life that it was really beautiful. At the end of his life, I would just show him YouTube videos of Shirley Temple, and he would just smile and enjoy her presence, you know? And it was beautiful.
Yes. Yes. I wrote down, you took for, mentioned pain points. So one of the other quotes I have on the sheet is also something that you said. You sure you didn't read my mind? Um, this is from the text, and one of my favorite passages, and it's exactly what you were saying. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all of the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. It is not necessary to seek for what is true, but it is necessary to seek for what is false. Every illusion is one of fear, whatever form it takes, and the attempt to escape from one illusion into another must fail. If you seek love outside yourself, you can be certain that you perceive hatred within and are afraid of it. Yet peace will never come from the illusion of love, but only from its reality. So that idea that your task is not to seek for love, but merely to find all the barriers. So the barriers is what you're, or what you're talking about, with what you felt for your father. That's a barrier to love. And sometimes the course process seems harsh because there's no hiding. You can't hide with the Course in Miracles. You have to go within, whatever is bothering you, whatever the fear is, the process of going within and looking at what it is. What is the fear? What is the anger? What is we all have jealousies or pettiness or mild annoyance, to look at it, not bury it. And you're talking about psychology, they keep you mired in the guilt. But to look at it and not bury at it, but we not bury it, but we look at it through the eyes of, we haven't really talked about Jesus, but Jesus, the higher guide, the higher wisdom. So you're not afraid to look at it. You're not afraid to say, oh, I did that, or maybe I was cruel, or maybe whatever that situation is, I took part in it, and we look at what we think is our own guilt, but we look at it through the eyes of love. So we come to, love ourselves, but it can be thought of to be really what's the word I'm looking at? Confrontational. Does that make sense? Because you have to look at it. You can't bury it. But I also see in other, I don't know, psychologies or in maybe in the common vernacular, people using that, looking to themselves first. Whatever it is I'm angry at, whatever it is I'm afraid of, you look to yourself first. Oh God, we're starting to, it's 2:26 already. Wow, time goes by quickly, doesn't it? Anyway, that's all I wanted to focus on, that the process can be self-confrontational because you're looking within, and how you might have, contributed to a situation, or looking at your false beliefs, or looking at what who you thought you were, that's not really who you are. But we have a guide to look at it with, and it becomes a gentle process.
I agree. I agree 100%. Very wise. And I love what you just said. Because we all have insecurities, we all have shortcomings, but it's very important to bring these pain points to the surface, but to look at them with compassion, look at them with love. And by looking at our shortcomings through the eyes of the Holy Spirit, we can let them go. It's
Yeah.
interesting because my earthly father, who passed away, could never admit that he had shortcomings, because when he admitted that he had shortcomings and insecurities, um, he would judge himself. I mean, that was very apparent in his MO. He didn't know how to I guess admit that he wasn't perfect. But I think what's very
Mm,
important, just like you said, it's very important to bring the darkness to the light, and it's very important to
exactly.
look at our darkness through the eyes of the Holy Spirit with compassion.
Yeah.
That's why the one paragraph that I love to read. It's chapter 1, Roman numeral 4, the escape from darkness. The escape from darkness involves two stages. First, the recognition that darkness cannot hide. This step usually entails fear, because by allowing the darkness to surface, we have to admit that we're not perfect. We have to admit that we're not all together. we have to admit that we have character flaws. And sometimes this is difficult because everybody likes to appear together, right? I
Yeah.
think we all do. And
Yeah.
then Jesus says this step usually entails fear. Okay, then second, the recognition that there is nothing you want to hide, even if you could. This
Mm.
step brings escape from fear. Even if I could hide these pain points, and appear together, it doesn't really do me any good to appear together and stuff the pain points. What brings me closer to God is by allowing my insecurities to surface so the Holy Spirit can help me to heal.
Mm.
When you have become willing to hide nothing, you will not only be willing to enter into communion, but will also understand peace and joy. I do believe that our
Mm.
true joy is on the other side of the darkness, on the other side of the pain.
Yeah.
And it's so important just to keep it real, to be authentic, to allow our insecurities to show.
And to
So
look at them, not be afraid. That's what that line, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you've built against it. Anytime we're feeling, you call it pain points, it's a great term. Which would define, the guilt that we carry somewhere, some existential guilt that we have no idea where it came from, but I'm guilty. I used to blame it on being Jewish, having a Jewish mother, but then I found out everybody has that guilt. It's
I
just
used to
not
do the same
being
thing.
Jewish.
I'm Jewish too, and I think Susan's Jew. No, Susan, you're not
I'm
Jewish.
not. I think there are a lot of Jewish Course in Miracles students, but I'm not
Yes, there
Jewish.
are. I know.
I had a
I
hard
know.
time in the beginning, but Marianne in those days was my teacher. She had groups online, on telephone line. So
Hmm.
she was Jewish, so she helped me
Hmm.
a little bit. Like she would
Hmm.
have these teleclasses, and I said, "Look, I'm feeling very confused. Jesus is not spoken of in my house."
Right. Right.
So yeah, but Susan, you would think you can't tell the difference. We're all the same. It's just story.
Right.
Well, I
Thank you,
guess,
Jan.
I mean, for me, I grew up in a Lutheran church. So I was taught about Jesus in a much different way than A Course in Miracles. Having a Jewish background, you don't have any misperceptions about Jesus, right? So it
Yes.
makes it a
No.
little easier,
No.
I think. So
Well, you
you're
kind of like, what Marianne used to say is, we don't talk about him. That's what they would say. Like, in other words, you remember she would say, they don't talk about him. I mean, it's really weird that they don't even bring him up. Then they'll start talking in Yiddish about the fact that he's a goy, but he was really a Jew.
I understand that. That means he's not. No,
Yeah,
that means he's not Jewish.
my
Yeah.
mother and grandmother were Yiddish. They just spoke Yiddish.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
know, the thing is, Jesus is just an archetype. That's all it is. He's our archetype for the West and Buddha for the East. So
Yeah.
Well, I think if
Yeah.
I know Jesus and Buddha lived at completely different times. Buddha was way before Jesus, but I have like behind me A Course in Miracles right next to a Buddhist sculpture because I think Jesus and Buddha would have been great friends. They were both
yeah, there's
enlightened
a book that
masters.
Gary Renard wrote. I didn't get it, but I've heard about it. It's called Jesus, and I don't. I have a couple of Gary's books, but I've never really, you know, maybe I'll unfold them soon, but I haven't. Like I haven't read them, But the one that he has is when Jesus and Buddha became friends or something, and people say it's a good book. But it's a
One
story.
thing
It's all coming in his mind. All of this is just story.
Right.
One thing that I love about how Buddha is represented, though, he's represented as fat, which represents abundance, and laughing, which
Oh, I
represents
love that.
joy.
You know
Yes,
I
what?
the
Hold on
love
laughing
one
that
second.
Buddha.
image
My
where
phone's ringing. I'll be right
Jesus
there.
Yep.
Jesus has like his hands nailed to the cross and his feet nailed to the cross and blood coming out his rib cage. don't like to remember Jesus that way. Because to be honest, I think Jesus was a very happy guy.
Didn't we talk, oh, in my talk last week, we talked about the life of Brian, but just, one point, and I grew up with this idea, and it was pervasive, every time around Easter, that the Jews crucified Jesus.
Yeah,
Did you get that?
oh, I got it. I got that. When I was in junior high, I had
Right.
never heard that. And I was in the bathroom, and these girls were maybe in ninth grade. They said, "You killed Jesus." And I went,
Yeah.
"What?" I had no
That
clue what they
was
were
yeah.
saying. Yeah, so it was like, yeah. And then at the time, I mean, I still do have my sister, but she was 2 years older
Yeah,
and she was
right.
kind of on the tough side. So this was a girl that, it was the Romans, Lynn saying, yeah, but this is just what they would do anyway. They would just blame you. But, at the time, my sister was one of these popular, like, girls that you didn't mess with, where you could mess with me. That helped me a little bit from picking on me, because they get really cruel when it comes to Jesus. They use, listen, I have Ken Waltnick's book, Forgiveness and Jesus. It's a wonderful book, but I have to go. And I normally have things on Tuesdays, but I absolutely loved listening to you. Both of
Thank
you
you,
are
guys.
wonderful. Okay, well, see you later. All
I'm
All
so
right.
right.
glad
See you,
you're here,
Sharon.
Sharon. And
Yeah,
I'm
I
so
loved
glad that
it.
you spoke with me, Sora.
Oh,
Yeah,
And
do
me
you
too,
come
Susan.
another day?
What a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Do
You
you
know,
do you
it,
teach another day, Susan? You
well,
used
my
to.
time slots are Tuesday at 1:30 and Friday at 1.
Oh, and I usually work Friday, but I'm going to have to. You're a phenomenal teacher. You both are. You're just what I see
Thank you.
in Gather now is so much wisdom just pouring out of everybody. Because
Thank you.
we've
I
gone
see
through a
that too.
lot of
I know I learned from everyone here.
right, the crucifixion. Like, we've crucified ourselves enough. Now we're ready for just complete
Right.
freedom.
Oh,
All
good
right,
point.
much love. Okay, bye
You
bye.
too. And on
Resurrection.
that note, it is 2:33, and I believe we have someone else. I will thank you, Sora,
Me,
so
yes.
very much. Oh, we have Sora coming up. So I will end our hour, with the introduction of A Course in Miracles. Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The only thing that's real is the love. Thank you for reminding me that. Thank you, Sora. Thank you, Lynn. Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank you,
Steve. And I
Susan.
will now return the microphone to Lynn and Sora.